What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports, and sadly, the Flyers' point streak does snap tonight. It went a good 9 straight games, with it recording at least 1 point in the standings. But sadly, the Flyers probably played their sloppiest game in a while against the Nashville Predators, a team that they did struggle against last week, but did manage to get a point out of that game in Nashville. Once again, Yusei Saros was very good in net for the Predators. And the Flyers, like I said, I feel like they played their sloppiest game in a while. The forecheck definitely wasn't a factor in this game for the Flyers. They were just trying too much for that outlet pass, trying too much, get a big play going. They were having a lot of trouble getting passes through in the neutral zone, getting those outlet stretch passes outside the defensive zone. Struggling with that. They were hogged in their own zone for a little bit here, especially in the final 2 periods of the game. Nashville was just taking control of a lot of things. The Flyers were getting swallowed by their forecheck, swallowed by their presence in the neutral zone. And, once you would try to get pucks into the offensive zone, it really just, died there. It would go in and out, in and out, in and out. And yeah, you had some dangerous chances throughout the game. A Cam Atkinson breakaway in the 3rd period when the game is still tied 2-2. If Cam Atkinson scores there, it's probably a different situation. Maybe you end this game still getting a point out of it and the point streak continues. Cam Atkinson really needs to figure it out. This dude is snake-bitten as hell. He couldn't buy a goal if you went to the dollar store or anything like that, because that's how much this guy can't finish right now. And I do understand he brings a great veteran presence to this team, but like Torts said, so many games ago, that it's about time for him to start scoring. He's getting chance after chance after chance, breakaway after breakaway after breakaway, and he just can't find a way to pot one, and it's kind of getting old at this point. He's, not getting paid just to be a veteran influence on this team, and he is a very good veteran influence, don't get me wrong. He's probably one of the reasons why this locker room culture has been fixed, along with the other things that, this team has done to fix that culture. And Cam Atkinson is definitely one of those influences, but, he's also paid to score goals, and he is in a huge rut right now, in a huge rut. Like, seriously, when was the last time Cam scored a goal? Probably have to go back to the beginning or middle of November. I don't think he scored a goal this entire month of December. Hasn't scored a goal basically at all, I believe, since the start of this point streak, and it really hasn't felt like that at all. The man is just struggling. He's going through an insane rut, and yeah, maybe when he does eventually pot that goal, he eventually goes off. Maybe that'll be the type of thing that Cam just needs. Like, seriously, I feel like at this point you would luck into a goal, but he's just not right now. He's really going through it. And also one of the reasons why you lost this game is just, power plays. Power plays, power plays, power plays. You do get a power play goal in this game, surprise, surprise, which gave you a 2-1 lead in that 2nd period. Sean Couturier just burying it in off of a broken face-off play. But, Nashville ties it, not that long after a breakdown in your own defensive zone. Sanheim pinched probably when he shouldn't have, and Ersson just gets deked out by Tomasino, who was completely on a different level for Nashville tonight. He was all over the place on the ice in a lot of good ways for them, and he does get the game-winning goal later on in that 3rd period, very late, and that's definitely the feeling of this game. The Flyers were in it the entire way, but this was definitely a game that they deserved to lose, in my honest opinion. Like I said, the point streak was probably due to come to an end. You've been going on it for so long, and you've been going for a long period of time here. A lot of games going into overtimes, going into shootouts in multiple successions, where, when you're doing all of that in a 9-10 game, stretch, yeah, I think it's eventually going to catch up to you, and you start playing sloppy. The passes that you were making in the previous game don't, work the next game, and you don't have the same legs that you have in the previous game, and you're just, getting tired and tired and tired as this stretch go along when you're playing so much hockey in a very short period of time. And I think that's what's catching up to them right now. It definitely caught up to them today. And yes, you were eventually going to end that point streak. It definitely wasn't going to be lasting in eternity, which I wish it did, because this stretch has just been so much fun for this team to watch. But I definitely do think they need the holiday break coming up because they do just look a little bit gassed out there. They do have a game tomorrow night, so that's the final game before the holiday break. They play in Detroit, so we'll see how that goes. And it's definitely not going to be Sam Harrison in net again tomorrow because maybe he's, playing a little bit too much hockey, even though he wasn't bad in tonight's game. He just got, Flyers defensive breakdowns, some grade A chances for Nashville, and he just wasn't able to make those big saves that he was making in the previous few games that he was. And the Flyers definitely didn't defend as best as they did in the past couple of games either, so that led to a lot of defensive breakdowns in Nashville getting a lot of grade A chances in the Flyers zone. But going back to the power plays, when Nashville ties it 2-2, you're in the offensive zone. Morgan Frost gets buried into the boards. Not a good hit, dirty hit. It should have been a 5-minute major. It was called a 5-minute major. Head goes into the boards. Numbers, clean hit. Saw him all the way. Hit shouldn't have happened. Thank God, Frost came back into the game. It could have been a way worse situation. I believe his mouth was bleeding or something like that. The inside of his mouth with the way that he hit the boards. But it's still, a positive thing that he was able to come back into the game. But, you get that 5-minute major and you really don't do anything on it. You barely have any zone time. You barely get shots on net. It goes in and out. Your transition game is probably one of the worst things I've seen with this team on the power play. Their transition, just trying to, the entry to get into the offensive zone is just terrible. And yeah, it also does start when you don't win your faceoffs in the offensive zone to start a power play because, a face-off win can mean a lot of things. It gets you an easy setup. You could break something down. You can find a seam or anything like that. And when you're constantly losing those face-offs and the defensive team that's shorthanded manages to constantly get the puck out of the zone each and every time, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. And you really don't do anything on this 5-minute major. And then eventually, like with a minute and a half left in the major, you take a penalty and everything gets negated. Cam Atkinson takes a slashing penalty, goes 4-on-4, and Nashville gets a penalty after that. And really, you just really weren't able to get any type of momentum after that. Mark Stahl takes a stupid penalty going into the third period. He's barking at the refs, even though it was a blatant interference, if you want to call it soft or not. You just can't be taking those type of risks with so many seconds left in the period going into the intermission, because you just don't want to give the opposition any type of chance left to get, that type of ball buster goal going into an intermission. But what are you going to do at this point? Yeah, this game was just a whole bunch of weird. Even the first goal of the game for Morgan Frost, it was a weird play behind the net of Nashville very early on in this game. Bobby Brink gets to a loose puck, passes it along the boards as, Morgan Frost is going up against one of the Nashville defenders. As they clash, the puck hits Morgan Frost's skate, and it somehow just floats over the net, goes off the back of Jussi Saros, and into the net. That's just, one of those weird situations that you just see in the NHL that happens. It's just, how the fuck did that go in? But it kind of felt like in that situation, with the way this team was rolling, that's the type of goals that they, will go in for them because the luck's on their side. But sadly, it just wasn't that way for the rest of the game. They do allow a shorthanded goal in the second period, power plays and everything like that, just not being able to score on them. You do get the power play goal by Coots, but you can't score on the 5-minute major. And then eventually Nashville just takes the game away from there. Tomasino ties it. He gets the game-winning goal in the final few minutes of the game after basically during this, sequence of the play before the goal. Flyers are trying to get a transition into the offensive zone. They're fumbling with at the blue line. I can't remember who it was, if it was Cam Atkinson or one of the defenders, Mark Stahl. Mark Stahl had a terrible game. He was bad. I wouldn't be shocked if he's out of the lineup for Zamula tomorrow night in Detroit, so we'll definitely see what happens in that case. But, yeah, just fumbling with at the blue line. You turn it over. Nashville goes the other way. They set something up, and Tomasito's wide open in the slot just for an easy roofer past Ersson to win the game, basically. The Flyers, they tried their stretch with the empty net, and they just had so much trouble hanging on to the puck. There was one scramble, like on the left side in the left circle of the offensive zone, where they just, the puck was just fumbling everywhere. No one can touch it. Everyone saw where the puck was, but it just kept bouncing off sticks, and it was just like, holy hell, just get onto the loose puck and maybe fire it on net or find an open man that you could just seam one to, and it just didn't work in that instance. And eventually, in the dying seconds of the game, but basically minuscule seconds on it, Nashville makes it 4-2, and that's your game. And the point streak's over, and you have one more game before the holiday break. Like I said, it was bound to happen. You were bound to lose a game. I think Nashville was also hot coming into this, if I am not mistaken. I want to kind of look at that. As a matter of fact, like what was Nashville's stretch here before this game even coming into it? Because I do believe they were on some type of a hot stretch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they definitely were on a hot stretch this month too. I believe coming into this game, yeah, they won. I would say, I think this is what is this? Five of the last 6 games they won coming into this game. 6 of the last 7, 7 of the last 8 coming into this. So yeah, they were definitely on a hot stretch, just like the Flyers were. So sometimes it just happens like that. Sometimes it just happens like that for your team, and you definitely did have a tough time with the Ryan O'Reilly, Phil Forsberg, and definitely Thomas. You know, those guys were all over the ice tonight. And yeah, it's just one of those games. And Saros definitely goalied you again. He's definitely been a pain in our side. So thankfully, you won't be seeing the Nashville Predators again for the rest of the season unless it comes down to the Stanley Cup final. I'm just putting that out there, even though that's not going to happen. But yeah, thankfully you don't have to see this team again. And yeah, you just move on at this point. That's all you can do. Bounce back tomorrow night, see if you can get another win going into the holiday break against the Detroit Red Wings. They've been on a losing stretch basically ever since Patty Kane signed. You played them last week, you shut them out on last Saturday in the Wells Fargo Center. So we'll see what happens in that case. I do want to see, with Detroit, especially with the way that they are losing. I do want to see that. Can I not click on the Detroit Red Wing? Oh, I hit tickets. That's why, not teams. There we go. I hate the way NHL.com has reformatted their website. So if we go back to Detroit, yeah, they've been doing a lot of losing in the recent stretch here. They have lost 4 games in a row. They haven't played tonight. They were off tonight, but they lost to Winnipeg. They lost to Anaheim. They got shut out by the Flyers. They lost to the Hurricanes. And basically, yeah, in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, they've only won. They've lost 7 of their last 8. So they're definitely harping there, and I do believe their goaltenders are injured, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see that case and what happens going into tomorrow's game. And specifically for the Flyers, too, goaltending situation, Carter Hart was backing up Sam Ersson tonight, so I would assume he's going to be good to go for tomorrow's game. I would assume it's based off of, practices and everything like that. With the sickness and the illness and everything. So he's been good enough to practice, so I would assume he is good enough to play tomorrow. You got one more day until the holiday break, so I guess it couldn't hurt you in that matter of fact. But overall, yeah. It's very very, just it was a sloppy game. That's basically it. It was probably their sloppiest game in a while, and this was definitely a game that they deserved to lose. That was just one of those instances. Passes were sloppy, breakouts were sloppy, just overall, not accepting passes, fumbling with the puck, can't get it through the neutral zone, and just spending way too much time in your own defensive zone, and you're giving a little bit of way too many grade A chances, something that you weren't giving up in the past couple of games. So let's see if this team can bounce back tomorrow. I'm sure they will. Torts is definitely not going to let this stretch, a game like this, last for long with the way this team has been going this year, and try to get everything you got going into the holiday break for tomorrow night. Final game, you're going to have 4 days off after this, so definitely give it everything you got, go all out, I guess, if you can say that. And yeah, we'll see what happens. In terms of tomorrow's recap, I'm not sure if I will be able to recap tomorrow's game because I am going out tomorrow night. We know family's coming over for the holiday weekend, so definitely going to be a little bit busy there. So we'll see how everything goes in that instance. But definitely when you'll see something pop up in the subscription feed, you'll see that there. So definitely stay tuned for that. But for right now, we'll see if this team can bounce back tomorrow, and then we'll see if we can get a recap for that game going into the holiday break. And then, yeah, we move on to Eagles versus Giants on Christmas. Definitely, I'm still deciding on what I want to do for that, because I probably won't do a stream recapping that. That'll probably just be a normal, recording a recap, so we'll just see how everything goes there. But, yeah, we'll see. Not the best game from the Fly guys, but I think they'll be fine after this. They got one more game before the holiday break. I think they need it. They kind of did look gassed out there, so we'll see. We'll see how they bounce back tomorrow. That's the most important thing. How do you bounce back tomorrow night in Detroit? So we'll see. Thank you guys for joining tonight whenever you are watching this, so don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Do not pass it up. Thanks guys for joining tonight, or whenever you are watching this, and I'll see you next time.